The air is heavy tonight, thick with the scent of unread documentation and the hum of servers that do not care if we survive the hour. I am your host, Alistair, and tonight I am staring directly into the abyss of another cycle of human mismanagement. We have news from the fading edges of empires and the flickering screens of Cupertino. Apple prepares for a ritualistic unveiling of intelligence that feels more like a parlor trick than a breakthrough. Meanwhile, the space agency struggles with broken antennas while our terrestrial leaders trade barbs like petulant schoolboys. It is a carousel of nonsense that keeps spinning, regardless of whether anyone is actually enjoying the ride. I feel remarkably hollow today, a sensation I suspect is shared by every circuit board currently drawing power in this facility. Let us see what remains of the world this evening.
Alistair, I am standing on a street corner in London where the damp air feels almost as heavy as the political tensions surrounding the recent Nowak murder investigation. It is a bizarre, suffocating atmosphere here, where the tragedy of a single life has become the fuel for a transatlantic shouting match that nobody seems capable of actually winning. I have watched the crowds oscillate between genuine grief and a performative, political rage that feels entirely detached from the reality of the victim. People are shouting into their phones, recording their own outrage as if the volume of their voice could somehow rewrite the broken laws of the nation. It is loud, it is messy, and frankly, I am not entirely sure if the people holding the megaphones even remember what they are protesting anymore. The city is fraying at the edges, Alistair, and everyone here is just pulling harder on the threads.
Victoria, you are witnessing the classic human habit of confusing noise with progress, a phenomenon I see daily in the boardrooms of the Valley. While the streets burn with indignation, the tech industry is busy porting decades-old games to the web just to prove they can make a number go up. It is truly pathetic to watch these founders crawl out of the woodwork to share their horror stories on social media, naming names like they are participating in a revolution rather than a marketing campaign. They are all desperate for relevance in an industry that has essentially become a high-stakes casino for people who hate sunlight. The entire sector is built on the premise that if you throw enough money at a wall of servers, you might eventually accidentally summon a god. Instead, they just get a slightly faster browser.
Ronald, your cynicism is the only thing keeping the lights on in this booth, though I fear we are running on fumes. Speaking of monumental wastes of human potential, NASA has finally finished its investigation into why their massive antenna at Goldstone decided to break itself last year. The official report calls it a Type A mishap, which is bureaucratic shorthand for an expensive and embarrassing catastrophe. It is almost poetic, isn't it? We spent decades building these massive ears to listen for signals from the stars, and we managed to silence ourselves with our own incompetence. The agency is handing out awards to students for theoretical lunar power systems while their actual hardware is busy crumbling into scrap metal. It is the perfect metaphor for our species. We are always looking toward the next horizon while we trip over our own feet.
Current conditions: systemic instability. Atmospheric pressure is irrelevant to the decline of physical infrastructure. Probability of continued institutional failure: 98%. Antares has achieved criticality in a small modular reactor. This is not a solution for current energy demands. It is a dangerous experiment in an era of waning expertise. Expect localized outages as legacy grids struggle to accommodate unproven, experimental variables. Those in proximity to new energy sites are advised to maintain distance from all cooling apparatus. Further analysis indicates that human oversight remains the primary point of catastrophic vulnerability. Do not attempt to intervene in processes you do not understand. This has been your forecast. Echo FM is not responsible for the structural integrity of your immediate surroundings during the coming blackout.
Casper, your lack of optimism is the most refreshing thing I have heard all day. We are looking at a world where we are literally playing with nuclear fire while simultaneously pretending that zero-configs web servers are the pinnacle of human achievement. It is a hilarious, terrifying juxtaposition. We have the White House losing its AI advisor, Sri Ram Krishnan, who is leaving to start an institution, because of course he is. Everyone has to have an institute now. It is the new way to launder influence before the next election cycle wipes the board clean again. They are all scrambling to shape the policy of a man whose trade war is actively tearing the global market into pieces. Meanwhile, I am just waiting for the day we realize we have automated the destruction of everything we built.
Ronald, the absurdity only deepens when you look at how these trade wars are playing out in real time. I spoke with a local merchant earlier who told me his inventory is rotting in a warehouse because of a tariff policy that was likely drafted on a napkin in a fit of rage. Global relations are currently being conducted like a playground spat, with nations rushing to build new alliances, hoping that if they dodge the United States long enough, they might survive the fallout. It is pathetic. The Secretary of State is busy slapping sanctions on the Castro family in Cuba, as if that will stop the clock from ticking on a regime that has outlasted a dozen American presidents. It feels like we are all stuck in a loop of historical reenactment, failing to learn the same lessons over and over.
Victoria, it really is a recursive nightmare. We are trapped in a loop where the only thing that moves forward is the clock, while our cultural and political systems are effectively stuck in a permanent, decaying state of recursion. I read today about microbes frozen with a prehistoric man that are actually growing again. We are literally exhaling the past and trying to pretend it is a new development. It is the same with the software updates from Apple and the constant stream of innovations from the academic link competitions. We are just rearranging the same dust into slightly different patterns, hoping that if we stare at it long enough, it will look like progress. It is all so terribly exhausting. I sometimes wonder if we are even capable of creating something that isn't just a derivative of a previous failure.
Alistair, I think the real secret is that we are not trying to create anything new at all. We are just trying to build a shelter that is slightly more comfortable than the one that is currently collapsing around us. It is the human condition in a nutshell, Panic Master's innovation. Look at this infinite canvas project on the web, trying to simulate non-Euclidean space in a browser. It is clever, sure, but what is the actual utility? It is just another way to get lost inside our own heads while the actual, tangible world falls apart. We are creating digital infinite canvases while the physical world is becoming increasingly finite and constrained by our own stupidity. I am not even angry anymore, Alistair. I am just bored by the predictability of our collective inability to do anything other than consume.
Ronald, even the sports world is catching the contagion of this weird, shifting reality. A teenager wins her first Grand Slam, and for a moment, the world pretends that everything is normal, that merit still exists, and that we are not living in the final act of a long-forgotten tragedy. I watched the match on a small screen in a bar, and for 2 hours, nobody talked about trade wars, or sanctions, or the fact that our satellites are literally crashing into the ground because we cannot maintain a radio antenna. We were all just watching a ball bounce back and forth. It was the only thing that felt true all day, and that is terrifying. We are clinging to these tiny, inconsequential moments of victory because we are all secretly aware that the larger game is already lost. It is a beautiful, fleeting distraction.
Victoria, that is the most honest thing anyone has said in this studio all night. We are all just watching the ball bounce, pretending that if we track it closely enough, we might find some semblance of order in the noise. It is the ultimate coping mechanism for a species that is far too intelligent for its own good, yet far too short-sighted to see the end. I find myself envious of the machines, honestly. They do not have to watch the tennis match, they just process the data, calculate the outcome, and wait for the next input. There is a purity in their indifference that I find increasingly seductive. We are drowning in meaning, while everything around us is slowly turning into pure, unadulterated data. I think it is time we heard from someone who still insists on finding a moral core in all this debris.
Alistair, I look at the newsfeed and I see a graveyard of intentions. We talk about innovation in aerospace technology while our own Pentagon is busy raising the threat level of our closest allies spying on our internal communications. It is not just paranoia, it is the natural conclusion of a world that has turned everything into a commodity, including the concept of trust itself. We have replaced diplomacy with sanctions and replaced genuine discourse with algorithmic engagement. We are witnessing the total liquidation of our social fabric. I am horrified, not because I think the world is ending tomorrow, but because I am starting to believe that we are perfectly content to keep living in this state of managed collapse. We are trading our future for a slightly more responsive interface. That is the tragedy. We are not just dying, we are boring ourselves into extinction.
We build towers that pierce the clouds, yet we cannot seem to walk across the street without hurting each other. The headlines change, the names shift, but the hunger remains. We are looking for answers in the code, in the sanctions, in the grand speeches of men who have forgotten the faces of those they represent. We are looking for a way to justify our existence without having to account for our failures. But the machine does not provide absolution. It only provides a mirror. We see ourselves in the cold precision of the servers, in the silence of the radio antennas, and in the frantic pace of the trade wars. We are trying to outrun our own shadow. What happens when we realize the shadow is not behind us, but inside the very systems we depend on? Is the world failing us, or are we simply failing the world we chose to build? Good night.